I'm the one that's supposed to comfort my parent, even though I'm 13 and don't know how to do that. So I remember repeating the line, don't feel. Like if I don't feel anything, I won't stop crying. Like
trained yourself to not do that.
Yes, I would get really drunk. I would like cry about things because I could not feel otherwise. It really came to a head when I was like doing cocaine every night, not sleeping, and then working opening shift at Starbucks, going home, sleeping from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., doing drugs all night, and then pre-gaming a pre-game with like a fifth of vodka and was like still coherent. Even then, at the pre-game, I was still drinking more than everyone else, even though I was already pumped full of alcohol. I was 19, my sophomore year of college, when I walked into my kitchen and they were having an intervention for me. I went to rehab. Everything changed.
What keeps you motivated to continue to be sober?
I think just
Chris, welcome to the Squeeze.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.
We're honored. Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
we made it happen. We have been trying to schedule this for months.
Literally,
at
I
a
think
time.
since March.
Have we?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. But we finally made it happen in the beautiful summertime.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
And here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I immediately said yes once you DM'd. I was so honored
Oh my gosh, I was
Is
so
that
excited.
Is that how this happened?
Yeah. Well, I sent you that video that he did.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was like, we need him now.
Yeah.
And that was in March.
That was in March.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Even though it does feel also like, feels like I posted that like yesterday, but also like I posted it years ago. But
Yeah.
it was a lifetime in the making.
When
Yeah.
we rewatched it again this morning, and we'll get into what we're talking about if you don't know what video we're talking about. Yeah. But we watched it again, and yeah, it said March, but I felt like it was forever ago.
Right.
I was like,
right.
wait, that's just like a few months ago. I thought
Yeah.
this was like a year ago. No, that's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 months ago, basically.
Crazy.
That is wild.
I just freaking adore you, and I've been following you for a long time, and I just love like how you're just you, and I feel like your authenticity just like comes across on
you.
social media, like whether you're like doing your freaking trying out testing your heels videos or like, you know, talking about like real vulnerable things.
Yes.
It's just like, it's really cool. And I was actually thinking this earlier today, like, you know, I feel like there's all this talk recently about like influencers being at celebrity things and like the difference
Oh my
between
gosh, yes.
And I actually think there's something really powerful that quote unquote influencers bring to the table that celebrities don't necessarily, is like your ability to like, you're sharing so much of your life like, with people.
Right.
And that is what like why people like are drawn to people like you on
Right.
the internet, and why, you know, they get excited to see them at things. And
Yeah.
I feel like with celebrities, it's like, you know, they can be so private with their lives, which
Yes.
is great that they
Yes.
choose to do that. And just like, you know, show up for work, make a movie, go home.
Yeah.
But I feel like we just can't even compare them. But I think it's really cool, like, to be called like an influencer and like a content creator. And it's just really cool what you've like done.
Yeah, thank you. And also like what with these award shows and people having problems with influencers being at them, it's like the award show doesn't really care if you have a problem with it as long as you're talking about it. Like if there's discourse about influencers being at an award show, there's discourse about the award show, and then people are aware of it. Like people are talking about the award show. And so I think when people like, I don't know, when people get mad at it and then think that will make people like these shows uninvite influencers or not have them next year, it's like one of the main reasons we were talking about the People's Choice Awards was because comments were being made about the influencers there.
Yeah.
Like other than that, I mean, I don't know if maybe I shouldn't say it so I can like get invited back. But like, you know, like there are so many award shows and a lot of them are competing with each other. So like, why would each award, like why would people be watching all of these at once if not for the discourse that happens online about them? And I see most of like, I don't even, who has cable these days? I see most of what happens from these award shows on social media after the fact, even if I'm not there. Like
Yeah.
that's how I find out who wins each Oscar. That's how I
Yeah.
like find out who wins most of the awards. So
Yeah.
I think like when people like it feels good to people to just kind of push down influencers in these ways because we're also an easy target because we're sharing our lives with you. So people feel like we're gonna see it and we're your friends because we're on social media. And so they know if they're mean to us, they can like, we're gonna see it and it might actually have a lasting effect rather than if they, you know, are like mean to a celebrity who is never gonna see it at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just become a very, like, online has become quite the space of negativity. So it really can be a tough space to be around all the time. But you just try to continue to push through and share my life in some way to make people happy. But yeah, it's always, you're always like consistently re-navigating how you feel about the space.
I feel like you, though, are like what influencers should be. Like, I feel like you're the gold standard of that. Because I definitely think there's people with influencer platforms who, you know, aren't, you know, doing what they could be doing. But like you know, watching you on the daily, like you go from making people laugh to cry, you know, just by being yourself. But I just think like, yeah, it's very cool because I think you are like that gold standard.
Wow.
Of
Thank
like
you.
positivity, but you know, also vulnerability.
Yeah.
So that's just really cool.
Thank you. Thank you. It can be, it's also tough to kind of do the, like share that entire range sometimes, because if you're known for someone who's being funny, then sometimes you share something that's vulnerable. And if it hits the wrong side of the For You page, people are like, we don't care. We don't want to see this. And then, so sometimes I share these vulnerable things and then I immediately regret it. But then I try to remember that I was sharing it for me. It's like, if you're creating content from your heart, then regardless, it's going to go over well, even if some people don't receive it the right way. But yeah, I mean, I'm just out here trying to do the right thing. We're just all trying.
You're doing it. All
Shall we
right.
do our game?
Yes.
I forgot
this
it.
is
I always
Citrus Got Real.
Okay.
In this jar of lemons, we have random
God.
questions from our followers.
Wow.
Lemon drops.
Our lemon drops, and they're just you never really know what you're gonna get. But I'll pass this over to you.
Oh, okay. All right. Here we go.
Hey, your ASMR drum.
Oh my God. Do you shower facing towards the water or head away? I mean, I guess it's
both.
Yeah, change it. If you only do one, then you're missing an entire part of your body. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I guess
If
I
you
do
wrote
both.
this question, please turn both
Please
ways.
turn both ways. I guess I begin facing the water.
Acclimatize.
Yes. I actually, and I spin a lot. Not like a full twirl, but
You're like in a car wash.
I'm like, but there's the times you're like, you know, you're just rotating to get the water evenly around your body, and like
Whoever
make sure
wrote
she's
this
getting
question is not
all
getting
of
all
that.
sides.
Oh yeah. Maybe try both. One of my goals in life though is to have one of those showers that has like 12 different shower heads and is like spraying me from all angles.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just sounds like really. That's what happens when you get a little touch starved. You just want 12 shower heads. Yeah. So I do both.
Okay.
I guess.
Good.
Yeah. That
As
sounds,
it
to
sounds
know
like
you're
we all
clean.
do here.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I really, it's nice how you guys figured out how to identify yourselves with the same name, Tay and Taylor. I remember when I was growing up, I was obsessed with the fact that if you and Swift had gotten married, you would have the same name.
Yes.
Like me and I would talk about, that was like my fun fact as a kid for some reason.
Right.
It wasn't even about me, but I said, you know, if Taylor Lautner and Taylor Swift get married, they're going to have the same name.
Yeah.
And then here we are today,
we
and
are.
it still ended up happening.
You manifested it for me.
I did. It was
you.
like my manifesting was just this, like a little off by
degree
one
off.
person, but I figured it out.
Yeah.
And then there you go. Did you always go by Tay growing up though?
I did actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So regardless, it was going to be a little bit different of a name.
I took the sacrifice though, because I also did not permanently.
Yes.
But, it
People
was a
were calling you
nickname of
Tay.
mine.
Yeah.
And now I just can't do that anymore.
No.
So you're welcome.
Yeah. And thank God you are a big Swiftie, because you've delivered so much of this Swiftie content from the both of you. And also, I mean, it just probably wouldn't be very fun for you if you weren't.
Yeah.
like having him doing the music video recently and all of that. That would just like be you're making your life so much easier by enjoying her music, but also it's quite easy to enjoy the music as well.
Precisely.
So.
I know that was like one of the funniest things when his manager called him and he was like, I got a call like from Taylor Swift's manager and like she wants your number. Like, do you want to ask Girl Tay if that's okay?
He was like, I know you're going to have to talk about this with your wife, so I'll let you go talk to her and just, let me know after you've had that conversation. I was like, I'll go have that conversation, but we're going to be fine.
Yes.
If that gets her to a concert.
Yeah, 100%.
This was before the concert though.
Yeah. Well, if that gets her to set, yeah.
If that gets me anything, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take
What concert? What one did you end up going out on again?
The Kansas City one.
The Kansas City one.
And do you want to hear what's crazy?
I want to hear what's crazy. Yeah, I do.
Her dressing room is in like when she goes to these places, they're in like the locker room,
right,
in their main thing. And I freaking took a photo of Taylor because he loves the NFL.
Oh,
and
okay.
also is a fan of Travis Kelce.
Straight football.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, straight football man. I made him, because he was like so excited to be in there.
Yeah.
I made him go underneath. Like Travis's name was sticking out from behind this little curtain. God. I literally took a photo of him underneath Travis's name.
Wow.
And then like,
it's true. I forgot about that.
The invisible strings are all over the place.
Literally.
That is wild.
We were in Taylor Swift's dressing room, and I was more excited about the fact that we were in Travis Kelce's locker room.
Patrick Mahomes' locker room.
Yeah, and I literally took a photo sitting on Kelce and Mahomes' locker.
Did you? So you made this happen.
I don't even think we told her that.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. You need to tell her that. You need to just send her that photo.
So it's an invisible string. She's got a whole song about it.
Yeah.
That is wild.
What's your favorite era like in the concert? How many times have you gone?
I've gone 10 times.
Are you serious?
Yes. I've gone to the Eras Tour 10 times. I've been very fortunate to go to the Eras Tour 10 times. I am so unbelievably grateful for all of the times. I was also invited by various people to go, and I'm not snatching tickets from anyone who is wishing that they could go as well.
Everyone calm down.
Please. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful.
Did he mention he's grateful?
Yes, I'm so grateful. I do not take any of it for granted, but I have gone 10 times. And so I do know that show back to front. But
all here or overseas?
A mixture of both.
Okay.
I did 3 LA nights.
Oh, wow.
2 Argentina.
Oh.
2 Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
2 Paris, 1 Madrid.
Wow.
So actually mostly overseas.
Wow.
Yeah. And obviously now that it's like a new revamped show with Tortured Poets and it's switched around, it's like even more exciting again. But my favorite part, other than when she comes out and sings Enchanted, because that is my Speak Now is still my favorite era, I really love seeing Tortured Poets live. Okay. And it made me like hear the songs in a new way. Like when I first listened through, I loved them, but hearing her kind of communicate them in this really epic like way with the audience already screaming the songs like a month after it was out, I think was really, really cool. So I love the Tortured Poet set, but then there's nothing like a 1989 too.
Yeah.
Like when she's performing Blank Space, where you're remembering how much that song was just in culture.
That's me swinging my
yeah,
club,
like I got
things.
a little golf club, smashing things, and I've like memorized the dance for it too. It's just so fun. Like I don't know how. I'm tired by the end of that show as an audience member. So her getting up there and doing that is really incredible. But it's just so like it's a fun like birthday party every time you're there.
Literally.
You just feel like you're having a ball.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. Do you ever go to the grocery store or wherever you shop for your vitamins and supplements and just start to feel so overwhelmed? I feel like I have to turn into like a very like skeptical person when I'm shopping for new vitamins because there's just so many things on the market, so many labels, so many ingredients to read, and it's hard to really find one that you can trust. Well, I found a multivitamin that you can trust, and it's Ritual. Their clinically backed essential for women 18 and older multivitamin has high quality, traceable key ingredients in clean, bioavailable forms. Ritual is a absolute favorite of mine. I'm sure you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I don't like taking pills, and that is really hard for me to do. So I used to not really take vitamins at all. But with this essential for women 18 and older multivitamin, it has like this minty essence to it. So when you're taking the pill, it doesn't feel like you're taking a pill. The mintiness kind of takes your mind off of it, which is something that I love because I don't like taking pills. But there's 9 key ingredients in 2 delayed release capsules per day that optimize your body's absorption. And I have just absolutely been loving these. So no more shady business. Ritual's essential for women 18 and older is a multivitamin you can actually trust. Get 25% off your first month at ritual.com/thesqueeze. Start Ritual or add essential for women 18 and older to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/thesqueeze for 25% off. So you guys know that I am a very natural makeup girly. If you guys have watched these episodes on YouTube or even seen social clips, I am always just like in sweats, very relaxed, just like comfy, natural look. And that's how I love to be. I love to be comfortable in my makeup. And I recently was getting my makeup done by my makeup artist, Kelly. She's lovely. But I was asking her for like products that she absolutely loves and recommends, something that is like easy for me enough to use, who doesn't know how to do makeup, but also like she would want to use as a professional. And a company that she recommended that she loves and also that is doing really great thing is Thrive Cosmetics. They spell cosmetics like cause, like they have a cause to give back. And that is like what their mission is. And it's amazing. Thrive Cosmetics is bigger than beauty for every product you purchase. You donate to help a woman thrive, women that are emerging from homelessness, surviving domestic abuse, fighting cancer, so many more things. They believe that changing the world starts with a single ingredient. So they are vegan. They're 100% cruelty-free formulas containing proven ingredients without the use of parabens and sulfates, which is just so awesome because finding a makeup brand that is doing good in the world and doing good on your face is just like, I feel better using the products. Like I feel like I'm actually doing good when putting these products on. The number one product she recommended me that I have absolutely been loving and you guys need to get your hands on is the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara. You guys, chef's kiss. This thing is so good. You just like need to try it. I don't even like want to give it away. You're going to love it. And let me know when you try it because you're going to love it. So if you're looking to refresh your everyday look, refresh it with Thrive Cosmetics, luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 10% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/thesqueeze. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/thesqueeze for 10% off your first order. You guys enjoy. Okay, should we like dive into our episode?
Oh yeah, sure.
I did.
Yes.
I was gonna get to those Taylor questions though, so I'm happy with
And
that.
I'm
That's
sure
okay.
we're going to circle back to it at some point too, because
There's
it's
a will, there's
really
a way.
deep into the fabric of our lives.
Okay, so not the whole reason that we're here, but what we really wanted to like dive in and talk with you about was your 13 years since 13 video.
Yes.
Applaud you for posting that.
Thank you.
It was just like so real and
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you were posting it, did you have any idea that like the impact that it would have?
I hoped
You
that
did.
like it would reach people in that way because it was something that was so vulnerable. But anytime you post a video, you don't know.
Never
like
know.
and you can't with like audiences have so much content these days, you can't expect people to give you their time in that way. And so right after I pressed post, I remember just putting my phone down and like starting to pace because I was like, well, I hope like people receive this well, because like, you know, there's a lot of unserious people on the app too. Really early on, it could have just been like, why are you sharing this with us? And then I could have been like, oh, I feel weird about this and deleted it. But it was just an era. I was in London at the time and it was an era I was having on social media, I was going to a bunch of award shows, and there was a lot of discourse about why I was at these award shows and who I was, I guess, because I had started gaining a little bit of a new audience who didn't know any of my content before. And it just kind of felt like people had a little bit of an idea of me that I was almost like an industry plant, or just started showing up at these things and felt entitled to them and felt like I am just here and I didn't put in any work to get where I am, and I'm just at these amazing things. Right. And I almost didn't even fault people for thinking that, because if you don't have the information of who I am and then you see me at all these things having a great time, you'd be like, okay, well, why is he here next to these stars who we have seen them put in the work? Yeah. So I felt like, okay, people just don't seem to really know who I am or know about me. And I was feeling like I was getting lost with who I was too. I was starting to think like, do I deserve to be in these places? What have I done to get where I am? And the work of an influencer is very elusive. Like, what actual work I've put in to get to where I am influencer wise is who knows. But I knew I had been through a lot to get where I was mentally. Yeah. And I figured, I was just like walking around London and I was like, I think I just want to share a little bit about myself. And the going down my ages was not my like original thought. I was just like, I'm just going to share things about myself. And then I just started writing in my notes app as I was walking around, like, okay, one of the first things that happened to me was like, one of the most significant things was at 13, I came out. And then I just kind of like kept going from there and trying to write all of these things. And I felt like there was a big change that happened to me in rehab and then post rehab. So I changed the language after that. And then it wasn't until really finishing the whole thing that I was like, oh, wait, it's been 13 years since I was 13. I was like, oh my God, that I started at halfway through my life. Like now it's been a whole new half of my life. Yeah. And I'm here now. And it's amazing. And it's also has a completely new set of challenges than it did when I was first 13. But I'm happy with where my life is. It's also occasionally not a good time, but I'm very grateful regardless to be where I am at this point. So I just kind of started writing it down, and then I just kind of put up the camera and talked through it, and then just like put it out there and paced around a little bit.
Was that terrifying? Like pressing post?
It's no, I think like once it actually fully uploads is when I'm like, oh, okay, now it's out there. And then I, was checking it like a few minutes later and was like, okay, it seems like, people seem to be receiving it well. And like, I feel seen in a way. But then, as time went on, like within 30 or 40 minutes, I knew it was being received in a way that felt very meaningful to me. And I knew it seemed like a lot of people were already being helped by it. Yeah. And I felt very good about it after that. And I think also I would have felt good about it even if it didn't get the response that it did. But the way that it got the response that it did made me feel even better about sharing that, because sometimes I feel like sometimes we go through hard things and then we're happy with our growth at the end of it, but it's almost like you feel like you went through it and you're just consistently trying to fight your way through new things. Yeah. And so it's nice to occasionally have those markers of having gone through something and then feel like there's something coming from that darkness. And I can actually see what is coming from it and see the impact that it's having on people. And it's a good reminder to share things like that every once in a while, to like continue being funny, but also that people sometimes need to see that like life is not perfect. And I know it wasn't going to reach all of the people who were, hating on me being at some of these things, because I continue to get those responses. But what matters to me is the people who it does reach. And I was really happy to see that people seemed to be helped out by it, because also I know some of my audience is in their teen years. And like when you're in your teen years, those problems that you're going through feel like and are the biggest issues you have ever experienced. Yeah. Like a 15-year-old heartbreak or 15-year-old family turmoil is insanity. And it's really easy to be told by adults at that point in your life that it's like, you're young, you'll grow and find more things. But at that point, you're not grown up. And that is the biggest thing you're dealing with. And I don't think 15-year-old me would ever have seen where I would have made it at this point. There were so many times I was very ready to just give up on everything that I had dreamed of as a kid. But when you're a kid, it's so easy to dream and it's so easy to have all of these really big picture ideas in front of you. And then as you go through life, they slowly get chipped away because reality keeps getting thrown at you, and the world around you wants to make you feel smaller because they feel small.
Yeah.
But it really just takes a few things to break through that. But it also takes seeing people who have gotten through it themselves.
Yeah.
And I saw so many people who helped me through my dark period in rehab, and so many people in rehab also told me, because a lot of people in rehab are in their 30s or a little older in life, because like 19 is really young to go to rehab. But they all said to me, if I had just like gotten on the right track at your age, I would be so much farther ahead than I am now. Because it's really easy to be in your 20s and just be considered like a big partier, because being sloppy in your 20s isn't necessarily that out of the norm. The 20s are still like a crazy period of in time. But because all of those people said that to me, I figured like, okay, I guess I'll at least give it a try. And I'm so glad I did, because now, even now at 26, I still feel like I got way farther ahead than I would have at all if I had continued going down the path that I was.
Yeah.
So I felt really good about the video, basically.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to just kind of like dive a little deeper into like some of those years, because I feel like you have a lot of like knowledge and advice and wisdom that you can share. But before that, I'd love to know like background info, like from the beginning, before 13. Like, do you have siblings? Where are you from? What's family dynamic? Like that kind of before pre-13.
What did life look like?
Yeah. Life pre-13 was pretty good. And I mean, it had its own challenges, but pre-13, so I grew up in Chevy Chase, Maryland, which is a suburb of DC. So I went to school in DC very early on. I basically say I'm from the DC area. And my mom and my dad worked for the government growing up. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was with us all the time. And my mom was very, very social. She was, she knew basically like everyone in our town. So me and my sister never had a shortage of like friends and things to do, because my mom was always getting things done, and she was very on top of basically everything when we were growing up. So childhood was like really good. Really early on, all of my friends were girls. My birthday parties would be like 20 girls. And then my parents would be like, you have to invite some boys. And I'd be like, okay, if I must. And then there would be like 6 of them. And I would be like, thanks for coming. But
wouldn't even talk to them.
Yeah. Like, and the 6 of them would be like family friends that I was just kind of forced to be around sometimes. I did like some of my friends who were guys, but I was one of the girls really early on. And I was also a performer. Like I loved performing for my family. I loved singing and dancing. Like when I was 10, I started doing theater in my town. And then by the time I was 12, I would go to theater camp every summer. Wow. Like I was always an artistic kid. And to my parents' credit, they always supported what I wanted to do. They were never like, my parents were both lawyers. My mom, before she became a stay-at-home mom, was a lawyer. And so, but they never really pushed either me or my sister. And I have a sister who's 2 years older than me to do that. So I was always into theater really early on growing up. And life was good growing up. And I didn't notice that there were any issues with like my parents or with anything. It really felt like I remember as a kid almost like wishing for more drama in my family, because like I loved attention, and I like when kids in my class would have like family drama or something and they would talk about it, attention would be on them, and I always remember thinking like, oh, I just like wish I had like a hardship or something I could like have gone through. And my God, did my wish came true. Like I wish it almost. I don't blame myself for then everything that I had gone through, but I do remember like as a kid almost truly wishing that more things had happened to me. And then, life ended up changing really quick. When in like 2009, so I guess I was 11 or something. My mom's dad passed away.
Yeah.
And that is when apparently her addiction really like turned up. But me and my sister both maintained that we did not notice it. Like that was, I mean, maybe we were still very young, but that was just still like our mom. She was always a little bit like kooky and high energy, but that is when her addiction really ramped up. And by the time, and then, so
What
I don't
did
think
she struggle with? What was her addiction?
mainly alcohol, but I think like, she experimented with a lot of things. And I remember, like nothing really changed. I think it was a slope, but it wasn't an immediate like downhill.
Yeah.
So even though I was 11 at the time, I think like it was about 2 years later when I was 13 that it definitely all came to a head. I remember she like went on a girls trip with people, came back, and one of the girls had like told my dad that she needed to get help. And and I remember her telling me about that and me thinking it was weird that she was telling me about that, because I was like,
Your mom telling you?
yeah,
about
my
that.
mom told me about that. And that was kind of the start of her sharing a little bit more in a way that I was like, I don't know how to hold this information for you as a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
And I would always notice that like when we were driving to school in the morning, she was always in a little bit of a worse mood. And then when we were driving back, she was in a better mood and like, was kind of seemed a little bit lighter. And but again, as like as a 13-year-old at the time, I'm also really wrapped up in my own. I was realizing I guess I had come out at that point, but I was still battling with so many things. Like I was a hormonal 13-year-old. You're not really noticing things about your parents at the time. But I remember there was one period of time before there was any conversation about her going to rehab or going to AA where we were in the car at one point, and it's a theme in my family that serious conversations got brought up in the car because we couldn't escape.
Yep.
But we were in the car at one point and she asked me if she thinks if I think she should leave my dad. And I remember just being like, I don't know if it would make you happy to, but immediately just being like, I have no idea how to answer this question.
And you're how old here?
13.
I was like, 12 or 13 at this point.
Okay.
And so at that point, I knew that I was like, okay, if she's asking me this, things can't be perfect right now. Like something must be going on, but also I really don't know how to answer that question. And then I remember like a few weeks later, I was being driven to school in the morning by her and she started crying and said, I need to like get help. I'm an addict. And I was like, again, I didn't know this. And I think she and my dad maybe had an idea that me and my sister had caught on more than we did, but we really hadn't, because also like, I think when you're growing up, you take your parents as is.
Yes.
Like you just kind of, yes, there were moments she was a little like kooky, but she was always a little like high energy growing up and always making some weird decisions and like going through some mood swings as like any parent would sometimes. But so when this first happened to me, when she first broke down and started saying this, it really was a surprise. But after that first conversation, everything moved so quickly. It was like she started going to AA in 1 week, but then like basically a week later was in rehab and was gone. And my dad was working full time. So it was suddenly like, and my mom was home all the time as a stay-at-home mom. So it was suddenly like, everything, like all day we were around a parent when we were home after school, and then suddenly we weren't. And my dad was also then getting into Al-Anon meetings, which are meetings for people who are families of alcoholics. And so my dad wouldn't come home right away after school. So I was left to my own devices as a 13-year-old really early on. And again, being 13, having realized I was gay, and just being in this weird time in my life, it was like I was left to my own thoughts almost too much and given way too much time. So I ended up then starting to act out in my own ways, but also I was just really not having a good time at this all boys school that I was at, because I had come out, and when at that point being around all of these guys, it was not fun.
Yeah.
Because it was also a religious school, so it wasn't like accepted to be gay there. So really that truly, like, from 12 to 13 is when everything that I had known from before,
Yeah.
the wish of having like crazy things in my family came true.
Yeah.
And it was like everything changed really quickly, and we had never been away from our mom in that way. Like, and I had never had a restriction on how much I could talk to her, and you could only make certain phone calls. And
Yeah. How long was she
just
gone
very
for?
strange. The first rehab was 30 days.
Okay.
And then I think she came back for a little bit, but then very quickly went to another one. And then she did multiple 30-day programs over the course of like 6 months. So it was really like every time she would start a program, and it would be like, she'll be back in 30 days. And then like clockwork near the end of it, my dad would tell us, she's not coming back. They've been recommended to go to another one. Wow. And each one had different rules of how often we were able to talk to her. And there was one I remember that was like 10 minutes once a week, and the phone calls are recorded. And like, there's someone sitting there next to you. And I was like, oh, Jesus, like, what is going on? Yeah, it's like, I just, and I had no idea what rehab was really like at that point, or what it was even. I just knew she was having trouble. And it was also like my dad was navigating how much he could tell us about this as kids too. So we didn't know that much information. And my grandma, who's my mom's mom, is very conflict avoidant. So she also wouldn't tell us much, and would also just going to be like, I don't think your mom needs to be there. But then my mom, when we would talk to her, would almost overshare in a way. So we were getting so many different kind of like information pieces at a time, and did not know really how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And I was crying every time I went to school because I hated going to this school. So I knew I needed to get out of the school, and I ended up going to a boarding school for arts in Massachusetts while my mom was still gone. And then my sister ended up leaving for college a semester later. So we all, like, everyone just kind of left the house at once. And everything from that time on was different. And there's like a really strong marker as to when everything changed for me. And I remember like recently someone asked me what my like best childhood memory was. And it really immediately made me emotional, because I was like, oh my God, like when I think about that era of my life, it is almost like a completely different time. Because again, growing up, my mom was on top of everything. She was so social. It felt like she was almost like super mom in a way. And then that was all shattered within like a few days once I started receiving all the information of what was going on.
Yeah.
And it all changed.
Yeah. Summer is here, and it's in full swing, guys. It is really here. I'm still trying to achieve that hot girl summer bod. I feel like being in my late 20s now, that is just something that I'm going to be striving for the rest of my life. But since we've been working out more, we've been walking the dogs a lot too. I mean, we always walk the dogs, but now that it's summer and it's warm out, I can walk them like early in the morning or later at night, and it's just like that perfect weather. But I love walking, being out, and finding that perfect sneaker is truly a very hard task. But I recently switched my shoes to Vionic. If you guys have not heard of this shoe company, they are amazing. Specifically, I've been wearing the Walk Max sneaker. They make a him and her version. I have the white pair, and I'm just obsessed with them because it's perfect for all day wear. When you're active, when you're on the go, you know, I can just slip those on and I can have them on for the day, whether I'm going to appointments, running errands, going out for lunch, going to a workout. It's so nice to just find a shoe that is comfortable and fits so many different occasions. And we love that it's also waterproof, because even though it's summer, it's going to be winter at some point again, and those rain clouds are going to come. So it's very important to keep those little feeties dry. Check them out. You guys are going to love them. You can use code SQUEEZE at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com. That's www.vionicshoes.com. When you log into your account, this is a one-time use code only. Go try these shoes out. You guys are going to love. We are so quick to consider our health and wellness, but it's really important we take some time to focus on our dogs' health and wellness and ask the question, why are so many dogs suffering from health issues? Well, actress Katherine Heigl, who's helped save over 16,000 dogs through her foundation, which is just amazing. She says that she's seeing more issues with dogs' joints, odors, and health than ever before. And after doing a ton of research, she feels that there's one place we can look to improve any dog's health, and that's their food. What she discovered is that way many dog foods can actually create toxins, and that could be wrecking our dog's health. And this is true for many premium pet brands. Fortunately, she found that just by adding a few special superfoods to your dog's food, she saw huge transformations in their health. And she actually made a 20-minute video explaining step by step how anyone can do the same thing and see incredible changes in their dog's health. It's so important because, again, we got to think of our dog's health and wellness. We can't just be scooping them the same old food every single day. We really need to stop and think, is this good for their health? And, I love my dogs and I want them to live a long and healthy, happy life. So if you are in that same boat as me, go and check out this video right now. You can go to badlandsfood.com/thesqueeze and watch Catherine's video right now. Again, that's badlandsfood.com, badlandsfood.com/thesqueeze. So then 14, your parents get divorced.
Yeah, I went to boarding school, then every time I would visit home, I would get more information about what was happening. So the first time I visited home for spring break, my dad said, your mom and I are separated, and she was back from rehab, but she's living in an apartment. She's not living at home. But my dad was still going to work all the time. And I remember I would have to call my mom and see if I could see her. But she was also apparently at this time just wasn't completely well again. And so it was weird. I was getting I would talk to her and ask if I could see her, but she would be like, I can't, but not give me much more information on that. And I still to this day don't really know what was happening around that time. But again, I was just kind of left to my own devices at home for spring break. And then summer I come back and he says, we're getting a divorce. And we just talked about this conversation the other day randomly, but it was like him, my sister, my mom, and I all sitting on the back porch of our house. They told us they were getting a divorce, and it was like a 5-minute convo. And we said, okay. And then we left because that was the way our family was communicating at the time. No one knew how to communicate with each other. And we also knew it was coming. And at that point, there had been so many things, so much intense information that was thrown at me that I was not fazed by this one. It was almost like it was just another thing. I was getting so used to these intense family conversations and really just wanted to move on with my life as much as I could. Wow. So they told us we were getting a divorce then. And I think she did there was probably another program in there. And there were certain programs that we would have to go and visit her for family workshop. And a family workshop at a rehab center is also just so, especially as a teenager, is just insane because also I'm there surrounded by mostly families who are all adults as well. And they're treating me like an adult. And this therapist doesn't know how to deal with a kid. So I'm 13 sitting in this chair in the center of a circle with my mom, surrounded by the other people at the rehab. Oh, wow. My mom is crying to me about feeling like she's not a good mom. And then the therapist is looking at me and being like, okay, so now how can you comfort her and make her feel better? And I'm a 13-year-old being like, I don't think that is what you're supposed to be saying to me right now, but I guess I'm supposed to comfort her. And so I'm rewiring my brain and thinking, okay, I'm the one that's supposed to comfort my parent, even though I'm 13 and don't know how to do that. And I remember that there was a big switch in my head there because I was sitting in this chair while she was crying and I was starting to get emotional, but this therapist is telling me to comfort her. And so I remember thinking to myself and just repeating the line, don't feel. If I don't feel anything, I won't stop crying or I won't start crying. And I was felt the emotion in my body and I was like, let me try to drain it out of me. If I just breathe, I can drain it out of me, which is the opposite of an acting exercise. It's you're trying to feel things. And that was when I went to theater school later, it was a big part of a big challenge for me was getting into the feeling or just trying to, my emotions basically got really put under a wall because
Yeah.
really early on in my life, I started doing an exercise with myself to not feel things because it was too intense to feel it. And I was being told by a professional that if I was feeling it in front of my mom, then it wouldn't comfort her. And so I had to rewire that. And since then, like my therapists at my own rehab were like, that was definitely not the way it should have gone in that scenario. But it was just so confusing to me because really early on I was being treated like this an emotional adult.
Yeah.
When I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I was so young.
Yeah. I feel like after hearing all of that, your years, like the next like few years of your life, I don't want to say they make sense, but
Yeah.
it definitely like the way that you like had wired your brain kind of like sent you into a spiral because of like these factors that
Yes.
had been put into your life.
Yeah. I mean, and I do believe that a lot of the time addiction is genetic. Like if you're going to be born an addict and it's going to happen to you, and it's something that like you can be born with or not, but also sometimes you can become an addict of anything. There are many addictive things in the world these days. Yeah. But yeah, the next few years, like once my mom, I was talking about this with my dad too, like almost like clockwork. Once my mom got sober and then they got a divorce is when I started drinking and exploring my addiction and like really getting into it. So like God bless my dad because he went from my mom to immediately his son. Yeah. And it was I frequently like I'll have conversations with him a lot because he maintains that he may have not operated in the right way and that there were a lot of challenges put up against me. So that's why it happened. But I also think on my end, like it was going to happen regardless. Genetically, I was going to be an addict. And yeah, I went to boarding school and I had no stability at home. And at boarding school, you don't really feel like you have that much stability either. Yeah. So really, after 13, it just felt like I had no like semblance of home ever again after that point. It was just immediately ripped out. And I was always worried that that was going to happen again. So I never felt stable after that. So I very quickly was just hanging around the people that would like co-sign the bad behaviors that we were doing. I would go to a friend's house whose mom would get us alcohol every weekend. And it just became a part of my routine. Like I wouldn't say like 15 and 16, I was immediately like a heavy drinker. But once it became available enough to me around 17, it just really started happening. And frequently when I would get drunk is when I would get emotional and cry. I was like a drunk crier. And I think I was doing that because I could not feel otherwise. Like
you trained yourself to not do that.
Yes, I literally had gone through the exercise of not feeling. And so often when I would get really drunk, I would like cry about things and really feel really deeply. And obviously looking back on that now, I can realize as to why, but I just thought like, oh, I'm just a drunk crier. Like this is what's happening to me. Yeah. And I was always very early on in my time of drinking was drinking to like black out. There was never a point at which I was like one or two. And I never understood the point of one or two. I was like, wait, why? Like, why would you stop? Like I was always an extremist as a kid. And so that has carried on to like everything I do. And so when that's a healthy habit, it's nice. But when it's something like drinking, it was not. And it really came to a head when I was like doing cocaine every night, not sleeping, and then working my shift at Starbucks, my opening shift at Starbucks from 5 a.m. to 2 p.m., going home, sleeping from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m., waking up, doing drugs all night, and then continuing on. And that's not very sustainable. And it was just like, and I was also doing it alone. I wasn't like doing it and like going and partying. I was just like sitting in my room, like watching The Office and doing cocaine. Like come on, have a little bit more fun. Jesus Christ. But it's like, it was a really sad kind of picture of my life at the time. But I didn't even, and I knew that it was problematic use. I knew that this could not last forever, but I also didn't know how to be an adult any other way. As soon as I started adulthood, life was completely like unstable in so many ways. Yeah. And so I think it does make sense to me why it happened in the way that it did. But also I'm kind of grateful that my mom had gone through this rehab experience about 5 years before they sent me there, because they knew what all of these signs looked like. They knew really early on that this was a problem and that they were going to need to do something. And so like really I was 19. It was September of my sophomore year of college when I like walked into my kitchen and they were having an intervention for me, and everything changed.
Was this the first time you went to rehab or the second time?
This was the second time. I did go one time the summer before that, just for 30 days.
Yeah.
Because I had been drinking way too much at the senior year of high school, and at high school graduation I had gotten into a fight with someone, and it was just like everyone was like, you can't do this.
I literally can't imagine you doing that.
I also can't, like, I'm not an angry person.
Yeah.
And but at that point too, I all of my emotions were
Yeah.
heightened when I was drinking. So like I was not thinking clearly about anything. So I'd gotten into a fight with someone. Her parents said, you have to go to rehab. My parents were like, you got to go to rehab. So we went to rehab, or I went to rehab, but it was 30 days, and a 30-day program. They can work for some people, but it really, for people who have like some deep seated issues, it really, you start scratching the surface at the end of 30 days.
Yeah.
And then you get sent back into the world, and it's like, and good luck. And the second rehab was, they said it was going to be 90 days long, but as soon as I got there, they were like, it's however long it takes. And you talk to some of the other people who are there, and they're like, yeah, I've been here for 8 months. I've been here for a year. And so really early on, I was like, fuck, I'm about to be here for a really long time, because they do not send you out into the world until you're ready. And they also, it was a program where it was like, once you were done with the first phase, you got a job, but still had to come back to the campus every day and do your group sessions every night. So it was a really slow transition back into the real world.
Yeah.
But it was very intense.
How long were you in it for?
I was in the inpatient program, which is the first phase, which is like 3 group therapy sessions a day, 1 group therapy session a week, and then you do like community service every weekend. I was doing that for 6 months. Wow. I believe. And that was seen as quick. Like that was like, wow, you completed kind of quick, like good work. Wow. And then at the end of the 6 months, you get put into job search. And so you do 1 group therapy session every day at night, but you don't have a phone at this point. So you're going, they give you a bus pass and a dream. So you're going around, there was Boca Raton, Florida, to different places that you have been pre-approved to apply at. And you have to go, just walk in and be like, can I apply for a job? Yeah. And they're like, it's like, you can't have the argument that people mostly apply online, and like, I don't know, that's a scary thing. They're like, I don't care. That was the part of that rehab too. It was a very intense energy of like, you are facing every single one of your fears in every part you don't like about yourself. We are going to make you look at that and work on it. Yeah. And so you would go up to these places and apply. And I remember I went to this like organic restaurant and applied to be a server. And then I went back and told my therapist that, and she was like, I think we need to find a more humble job. I need you to go back and apply as a busboy. I don't think you can be a server there. I was like, okay. And she was like, humility. And I was like, God, all right. So I went back and applied as a busboy. And then I was a busboy at that job for a few months, working overtime most of the time. I would get there at like 4:30 a.m., scrub the floors, because they were like, immediately once you start making money, you have to start paying whoever is paying for rehab back. Oh. So you're immediately not allowed to spend money. You're paying for your rent and whoever paid for rehab. Even if your parents or someone are like, you don't have to pay us back, the therapists are like, yes, they do. Yeah. Like everything was just about doing what you were supposed to do. And so I picked up the early morning maintenance shifts and would like scrub the floors. And I had to like save a portion of my hourly every week, because the buses didn't even run at 4 a.m. So I had to take a like $15 lift there every morning. And I would take the lift there every morning, scrub the floors, and then start the lunch shift of being a busboy, and then try to go through dinner as much as I could until I had to go back to my group therapy session, do my group therapy session, go to a meeting, an AA meeting that night, because you have to go to one every night, and then go to bed and wake up the next day for early morning maintenance again. And so and then I did that for about 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
And then I think in like my last month, I only had to go, you finally fully complete your program. And so I only had to go like once a week.
Okay.
And it was just, it's called, I think it was aftercare. And it was like once a week you see one of the therapists, and they're not as intense with you anymore, because they're just like, we're just trying to see you go through life. And then that was in August. And then by September, I went back up to Boston to restart my sophomore year and try again and get into it and see if I could, assimilate back into the regular world, even at college. And I did, but it was a very uneventful year. It was like not much happened because I was really just nervous about deviating from what was happening.
Yeah. And you knew, like, going in, you were like, I have a problem. Like, I do. Like, I understand why my parents want me to go.
Yes. I mean, I knew even like before. When I saw my entire family in the kitchen and extended family, I was like, right. Like, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
I knew, like, I was, and everyone around me knew too. I was drinking way more than anyone would. It got to the point where I was like, pre-gaming a pre-game with like one of those, like a fifth of vodka. I realized it was really concerning when I finished one of those and was like still coherent. Yeah. Like I wasn't like blacked out at that point, but I would do that because I wouldn't want everyone to see how much I was drinking at the pregame.
Right.
But I would, even then at the pregame, I was still drinking more than everyone else, even though I was already fucking pumped full of alcohol. Yeah. And so I was drinking so much. And then when I started doing a lot of coke, and I didn't have the money to do that at that point, so I was draining my bank account. I was like lying to my parents about why I needed money for things and all of that stuff. So it was just like it was becoming non-functional. People talk about functional addicts a lot and how people can live for years as functional addicts. Yeah. And I guess that's technically what my mom was doing, but I was non-functional. I was getting to the point of being non-functional really early on. And I remember saying to a friend that after college, like, I'll figure it out and I'll go to rehab and do all of that. But I don't even know if I really would have made it through, because it was just getting to a point where like my liver was having issues, like I was having the yellow under the eyes, and I had gained so much weight just from like being like the alcohol bloat. I consistently had that. And I remember when I stopped drinking, within a month, I lost like 25 pounds. Without even really, I didn't start working out a lot. It was literally just not putting that in my system. Like I flushed myself out so quickly. Yeah. And I didn't even know, like I at the time hadn't even seen how much that was like puffing me up too. And now when I look back at photos, I'm like, oh my God, like.
Yeah, people don't realize like how much, like even though alcohol can be like, not that many calories or whatever it is, like it's not. That is like completely different. Like,
yes.
We have so many friends that, have just, some have become sober, some just, took a year off of drinking, and they like literally all just have lost
yes.
weight.
It is really, it's so
does
like,
something.
Yeah, having some distance from it, it really is fascinating to me that like alcohol is the thing we have normalized as a society when it is one of the harmful ones out of all of them. Like the fact that, like, I mean, we're getting places with weed and like, some of the other things, but I'm like, for alcohol to be the one that is so everyone is drinking it when it causes so many more issues than so many of these other things. It's just really fascinating to me that has been the thing now that I've had some distance from it. Yeah. And I truly don't have a desire to want to like drink again. I don't really get cravings for that. There occasionally, what the craving or the like desire I get is when I see people like go out to bars or like get a nice cocktail at dinner. I'm like, that seems like a fun part of the adult experience that I may be missing out on. But I can also recognize that I wouldn't enjoy having one.
Right. Yeah.
I would have one and be like, okay, and so when do we order like 10 more or something like that? And because the times I would order cocktails, like I remember I would go out to this one bar that accepted our fakes in college with a friend. I would order like 10 espresso martinis which I also didn't realize at the time that they had coffee in them. And so I was just
gonna
like,
say, you didn't
really,
eat cocaine then.
I was so wired and also like wasted, but I was like, God, these just like taste so good. Like, what is going on? And then I was like, and then after the fact, I think it was like really only a few years ago that I saw someone like pour an actual espresso shot into one, and I was like, oh, you're making yours with real coffee? And she was like, this is how they're all made. And I was like, oh.
This explains a lot.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, wait. Yeah. So like, and also like being sober in so many of these spaces now, like being around a really drunk person, you just realize, I'm like, God, I shudder to think at what it was like to be around me during those times, because being around a drunk person is just like, it is messy.
Yeah.
It's messy. And like, and the drunk person the next day doesn't even like how that went.
Yeah.
You know, like no one is having that good of an experience afterwards. Yeah. So I don't have the craving for it as like anymore, but, it really is, just continues to be such a part of like society, especially in LA, like, and in Hollywood and the events that we go to. I'm so glad I got sober before ever like making it to these things, because it's free alcohol at all of them. And not only free alcohol, like people have drugs with them there. So it would be really easy to do them if I wanted to. And like so much of Hollywood is fueled by a lot of that. And people don't like going to these events, and it's so easy to take the edge off with something. And so, I mean, I wouldn't have been able to put myself in a position where I would be invited to these events pre-sobriety. But if I were, or if for some reason, like, you know, my parents had let me try to be a child star and I had grown up more in Hollywood, I would have been fucked. / like dead by now or something like that. You know, it was not going down that the right path.
Yeah. What gives you what keeps you motivated to continue to be sober?
I think just the way my life is now. Like, I know if I started drinking again or going down a path, it would very quickly fall apart. So the way my life is now, I know that so much of it is because I am motivated. And I know that so much of it came from me being sober. Like as I said earlier, I was willing to give up on all of the dreams that I was having growing up. I said when I was growing up, I was such a performer, and I always had that like a dream in front of me. But as I got into high school and college and started drinking a lot and started not being as on top of things and not being as good with like, you know, and being a performer, you realize so early on how much competition there is and how good you have to be to even get in the room in some of these things. And so I was like, no, I'm just like having more fun in my addiction. And so I was really willing to give it all up. And once I stopped that and started finding some success in entertainment in one way or another, I just always knew I wanted to hold on to that. And I mean, my life is so much better without all of that stuff. So I think that's what continues to motivate me. And also when I share things like that, knowing that like there's probably some 19-year-olds out there who didn't have family members who went through it, or their families don't have the resources to go to rehab, but they see my video and see that I could get sober at 19. Because also one of the hard parts about getting sober at 19 is you're like, I'm so young, like I'm gonna stop drinking forever. I'm not even 21 yet. I haven't even had a legal drink in this country. Like, and I'm expected to stop the fun at this time, but to see, I think that's also what's hard about getting sober at 19 is you don't know anyone else at that age who is.
For sure.
And so I think being able to share that and knowing it's hopefully helped a person or two has also been one of the motivating factors of it.
Yeah.
So basically, you know, we get into your 20s and I feel like there's definitely things are on the up more than they were.
Yes.
And, you know, you start having this social following, move to LA, go to Grammys for the first time. You're doing all of these like things now. Looking back at this time, and I guess just like so far, I have like a couple questions, but what lesson over these past 13 years, or what lesson over these past 13 years has been like the biggest one that you've learned, or the one that stands out the most?
I mean, there are so many lessons each time. Like when I have so much sympathy for the 13-year-old who had just come out and was navigating what was like to come out for the first time. And a lesson I would teach him would be to not give the power to people who don't even who won't even believe in the fabric of who you are. Like the homophobia I was receiving at that time, it's like homophobia barely even, it doesn't even hit me now, you know, because it's so like, it's such a weak thing to throw at someone. Like at this point, it doesn't hit me. So I would have sympathy for that guy. And then when I was 16 and was going through like a really abusive relationship, telling him to not put like all of your faith in someone just because they're older than you and just because they are convincing you they know more and are convincing you you're a bad person because they know more. I would like tell him that to get away from that person. And then, you know, there's so many things I could tell myself through the rehab years, but it's also really interesting, even who I was at like 22 when I first started doing social media and first started blowing up and had so much anxiety about what that was bringing. Like it was obviously so exciting to find some success for the first time, but I was also so worried, one, about it ending, but two, I was doing it in a relationship at the time and was feeling so weird about how it was affecting this relationship and was feeling weird about the relationship in general because the relationship was like not perfect at that time, nor was it perfect at any, but I mean, what relationship is perfect? But it was like, you know, we probably, looking back, should not have started doing this career together, which it wasn't like we even made a conscious decision to do that, but it just kind of happened. But that was tumultuous in its own right as well. And it was really hard for me to see things written about myself for the first time because like when you're just a normal person growing up most of your life, you don't see strangers have hot takes on you. And for the first time you do. And you of course believe it because you believe things about you because usually when you're reading things about you, it's from someone who knows you. For the first time, it's not. So you're like, okay, wow, dude, these people don't know me, but it's also not hard to not let this hurt me. And there's even advice to give myself like right after that breakup. And from last year, I think the takeaway really is just consistently like having some grace with myself and consistently allowing myself to make mistakes. Because I think we get so mad at ourselves when we make mistakes because it's so easy to be like, I don't know, it's easy to just be negative, to have so much self-negativity. But I think forgiving myself more has been my journey because there's enough like anger in the world towards me and towards a lot of people that I don't need to contribute to that negativity towards myself. Like sometimes I'll have intrusive thoughts or like I'll think about a cringy thing I did and out loud I'll be like, fuck you, or like, shut up. And now I try to finish that sentence and I'm like, shut up is what I would say if I were mean to myself, but I'm not being mean to myself today. And like I try to like, because we manifest things by saying them out loud. So I'm like, okay, let me not say these out loud. Or if I do say them out loud, let me try to redirect it a little bit.
That's great.
I love that. What are you most proud of?
Oh my God. I'm most proud of. I mean, yes, like the sobriety of it all. Yes. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'm most proud of just like having navigated most of this kind of on my own and continuing to do what I do despite the negativity that's either been thrown at me or the blocks I've put up for myself. I'm really proud of just kind of like, I don't know, still being like anyone who is navigating this world in 2024 is doing a good job. And so I'm just proud of the way I've also consistently been able to like maintain the career I've had in social media. Like social media, the timeline goes quick. You can be huge.
It's a quick turnaround there.
Yes, you can be huge for a month and then have completely dropped off the face of the earth. Like there's so many influencers who were huge in 2020 and we don't hear that much from them now. And maybe that was their decision, but like we just don't. And it's really hard in entertainment period to have maintained a career and maintained people watching you in some sort of way. And I'm proud of myself for having done that as well, because there are people who come up to me who say, like, I have been watching you since 2020, since you were doing the relationship content. And that means so much to me because it feels like we've grown up together. I was 22 at that time. Like my frontal lobe had not fully formed.
Yeah.
And now I think it has, but also maybe it hasn't. And so it's like I'm proud of myself for many of the things, and none of that would have happened if I hadn't like done the rehab thing. But also I have to give a lot of credit to the people who staged this intervention, my whole family and my close friends at the time. So those things. Do you have something you're most proud of yourselves for?
Oof.
In this era of life?
I would say the way I love people.
Wow, that's beautiful.
If I had to choose, that's where I would.
I have one for you too.
For me?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm most proud of after watching you for almost 7 years.
Oh, okay.
Your confidence.
Okay.
Your love for yourself.
Oh,
That's
sweet.
beautiful.
I have
What
to
is
go now.
yours? Yeah.
Can I go for it again? Mind count. What is mine? I think maybe at the moment I'm proud of like how hard I worked. I've like worked over the past.
Worked or work?
Okay, I guess work.
All of the above.
She's a hard worker.
Yeah.
I just never thought I never like wanted to do any of this. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
I'm proud of that and
Should.
what
Yes, you
I've
should
been
be.
able to do.
Yeah. It's really hard to like give ourselves credit, because I think also like humility and we see people online when they're like proud of themselves or when they win things, there's so much discourse about if you're deserving of these things. And so
Yeah.
it's hard for us to be like, I am deserving of the pride I have for myself. But like no one can actually dispute that. No one can take that away.
Yeah.
So that is something we should be giving to ourselves.
No, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful
Like
thing.
the credit,
Yeah.
you know?
Are you going on tour sometime?
Oh my God! Yes,
Soon?
that is also a
I've
pinch
heard
me
some
moment. Is like
rumors.
the
What is going
Megan
on?
just asking me to go on tour
Okay,
with
wait.
her.
Yeah, I have to know how'd that conversation happen? Like what?
I thought it was a joke when she first asked me, and I also thought like Megan, bless her heart, does just kind of like say things,
Right.
Yeah.
And like the team hasn't moved, so she'll be like, "Oh, Chris, you have to come with us to this,"
Right.
And then a week later, I'm like with her and her team, and I'm like, "Oh, Megan told me about this," and they're like, "Oh, sure, yeah. Do you want to come?" And like, so when Megan offers something, bless her heart, I love you so much, I don't always immediately believe it,
Right.
Yeah.
and I just kind of take it with a grain of salt. I do
Yeah.
believe everything you say, Megan. But this time she says, I knew she was going on tour, and of course, being someone who goes to a lot of concerts, I was like, I'll basically come to every show, like,
Yeah.
and I want to come to every show. But it initially started as a conversation that was like, what if you like came with us on some of the tour stops and like
Yeah.
came on the tour bus and helped do some content? And I was like, of course, I'll do whatever you ask me to. And then it became, you should come out and perform with me for one of the numbers, because I do sing a little bit. I went to the school for musical theater.
If you click on the second video that's pinned on his TikTok profile.
Yes, yes. Every time, like clockwork, that I sing on the app, people say, "Oh my God, I didn't know." And again, it's like, I can't expect you to have done your research, but like, please just watch the pinned video. I made it easy. So I do sing a little bit. So she was like, "Come out for one of the numbers." And I was like, "Great, I'll do it." And then we were in Florida for an event, and she said, "You should open for me." And I was like, and then she was like, "No." And I was like, she was like, "You really should." And I was like, "Okay, like, what do you mean? What would I do?" She's like, "You can do whatever you want." And I was like, "Okay, what does that mean?" Like, oh, I can do whatever I want. Also, like, I went to school for theater, not to be a pop star. I'm not a songwriter. Like, what am I supposed to do? And she's like, "We'll figure it out. Do whatever you want." And then I was like, okay. And again, like, she's maybe just offering this, but then her manager arrived at like in the trailer that we were in a few like minutes later and was like, did you ask him about tour? And when he said that, I was like, oh, this is real.
Right.
Oh, you really want me to go on and perform? But again, I have no idea what to do. So I was like, I'll do it, I guess, but like, I don't really know what to do. And then over time, we kind of started like ideating on things I could do. And just kind of like I'm gonna sing a little bit, but also like it is about I'm being an opener for Megan. I'm hyping up the crowd for her. I want to also talk to the crowd a lot. This is the first time I'm like in front of an audience like that, and able to actually interact with people. And I'm just excited to like be performing again, because I want to like, again, being at school for performing, that is what I thought I would do. I still never thought then I would be like in arenas and stuff opening in that way, but I'm excited for what it's going to bring. And I'm kind of trying to create a little like narrative around the whole thing and a storyline. And I'm having a good time like putting it together. And I've been like talking with some of her team and some creative directors about things I could do. And we start rehearsals. What month is it? It's July. So we start rehearsals at the end of the month.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And like, we're going to get going. And
When's
also
tour?
the tour starts start of September.
Okay.
So we have a month of rehearsals, which will go by very quick.
Yeah.
But then I'm also really excited to just see her perform all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I watch her, and I think she will be like, you know, she's like traveling with a family is going to be a lot, and I'm going to be on the tour bus with her whole family, and we're going to be with the 2 kids. But those 2 kids are probably the most perfect children to ever exist. So I'm not
so cute.
I'm not even worried about it. I think she's so cute.
So cute.
She's just creating hits. So anyway, I'm excited to see her perform all the time. I think like I hope she really sees how much people love watching her perform too.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to also go on tour, because that was also never something I would have expected me to do. I'm sure there will be plenty of pinch me moments just doing that, because like that is wild. That's wild. Like a tour. And no matter what, it's a little like you're on a tour bus. It's not like you're glam the entire time. Like it is going to be we're going to be roughing it together at certain times, but like that's going to be we've spent so much time together. It does really feel like they're my family at this point, and I'm really excited to see her perform. And hopefully, because I love doing social media, but I'm hoping to get back into like the other entertainment aspects of it, whether it's doing theater again or just acting or something like that. And I'm hoping that after this, I can start doing more of that again now too.
Yeah.
After like kind of stepping back into it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So
It'll be fun.
excited
You
for
guys got to come.
We'll have to come see you.
I know. I need to put that in my calendar.
Yeah.
Over here. Should we do our last segment
Oh,
and
yeah.
then film some TikToks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. This is rapid fire. Well, yeah. Yes, we'll keep it rapid fire because I have faith that you can.
We can.
7 questions. Whatever comes to mind.
Boom.
Do it. You want to start?
All right. Number 1. What movie or song title best describes your mental health today?
Oh, you said rapid fire, and here I am being like, let me think. What movie or song title? Oh my God. Oh my God. The Hunger Games. I'm hungry right now. Though that's not like the actual like vibe of what happens during the Hunger Games is not it, but I cannot wait for a little treat after this.
Yeah.
The Hunger Games.
Great. Number 2 is how open are you with people in your life when struggling?
Pretty open. It's like I fluctuate. Sometimes I feel like I'm always talking about myself, so I hold it in. And it also depends on what the issue I'm having is. So like I would give myself in a scale of 10, like 1 to 10, and 10 being, I mean, I'm going to say 5, so it doesn't really matter which level is which. But on a scale of 1 to 10, it's 5. Like I'm like, it's like for the most part, yes. I feel like sometimes I'm more open with the internet than the people in my like direct life. And I just trust that they're going to see it when I post it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. If you could only follow 3 social media accounts, can go across platforms, but just 3 accounts.
Oh my God.
What would they be?
Really tough. Us 3 right here. I would follow myself.
Period.
But also, if I'm not saying anyone in this room, I guess it would be like Taylor Swift. I would give Harry Styles a follow, but that guy doesn't post anything these days. So I don't know if I really need to follow him. I'll just check out his account. So Taylor, I would follow like, oh God, who else do I like? Well, my really funny influencer friend, Maddie Grace Jepsen, and Megan Trainor.
Okay. There we go.
Otherwise I'm fired.
Those are
but also because I want to see what's going on in her life. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 4, what is your favorite form of self-care?
Fitness, I would say.
Okay.
I kind of dread it sometimes, but like
Yeah.
fitness, I
Feel
feel good afterwards. Going on a little run, something like that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Number 5, what would you say is the most misunderstood thing about you?
That I'm actually quite introverted.
Right.
When I am like at home alone. I love my alone time. I think so much of my content is pretty like extroverted, and I'm traveling all the time, and I'm like doing this, doing these crazy things. But I am like, usually when people come up to me, I think they're a little bit surprised that I'm giving a little bit of shy energy, because I'm just like, I'm a little bit introverted. Also, I get so nervous filming in public. When I'm filming those traveling videos, I'm like, oh, I don't want anyone to see me doing this. Like, but I make it look like I'm obviously like, I don't care, and I'm doing things in public, but I'm much more introverted than I think I come across online.
Fair.
I'm a little less crazy, if you can believe it.
Just a little. Number 6 is, who has had the most positive impact on your mental health?
My therapist. I have the same therapist that I did in rehab.
No way.
So she has been my therapist for like 6 years now. And I was in therapy with her like 3 times a day in rehab. She did my family program workshop with me. So she's met all my family. She knows the family dynamics.
Oh, wow.
And we stopped therapy for like a few months after I finished rehab. But then I started doing TikTok, and I came up on her For You page, and she texted me and was like, oh my God, look who it is. And I was like, hey, I'm actually having a lot of anxiety about this whole like now having a platform thing. So could we start doing sessions again if you're available? And we got back into sessions, and she's been my therapist ever since.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really, really nice.
That's so special.
Yeah.
Like,
She knows me so well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Jeez, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, number 7. If you could go back to one moment in your life, what moment would that be? And what would you say to yourself?
Oh my God. That's tough. Lots of moments. I think it would probably be one when I was like, maybe a moment of me being really young, pre 13, maybe even before everything started happening. Just maybe able to tell myself like, a lot is coming. There is going to be a lot. It's not going to be great a good amount of the time, but you will achieve what you want to achieve right now. Like, those dreams will not fully die. It maybe feels like everything is going to go to shit, and it's going to be very hard, but you won't get to the good side without going through all the hard stuff. Like, wouldn't be who I was today if I hadn't had to experience all of that and go through it. So I would like tell little me that, because I think he had so much hope, and I would just want him to keep a little bit of that hope in the back and not fully lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so fun.
This was lovely.
I just love that we've been able to like be serious, laugh. Like, it's so refreshing, like getting to have like those types of conversations.
Talk about it all.
Still be able to like keep it light. 'Cause at the end of the day, you don't want to like scare people away. And that's what you're able to do. Like, I feel like with your content is like, you're able to be so real.
Thank you.
But like, you're so approachable. Like, I feel like I could still like, I'm not going to be like scared to watch your content.
Thank you. I hope. I hope people aren't too scared. To watch it. It can be intense, but actually, it is really fun. I've enjoyed doing it. There's never a point at which I feel like being an influencer is like really hard. It comes with its hardships. It comes with hard aspects, but I'm really grateful to have been able to be like have this as my job for this long too.
Yeah.
I hope to keep going too.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see you on tour.
Oh my God, yes.
For sure.
So fun.
We're grateful to have you.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
I will film some TikToks.
Let's
Frick yeah.
talk it up.